Welcome to yet another episode of Brand Sutra Talk series, my conversation with the industry trailblazers, where we invite brand marketers from different parts of the world to come forward and converse about the journey as a key professional in advertising industry and share their experiences with us, thus we can learn from them. Brand Sutra Talk series is the extension of my enduring endeavor to share knowledge and learning to all future brand custodians, creative minds, strategists, and future marketers. So we all can come together to evolve as an industry and work towards to bring more professional approaches and respect to what we practice. Today, I have with me my dear friend Bharat Avlani from Kuala Lumpur. He has become a very close friend and mentor to me in last few years. He spent almost 25 years of his professional life working for one company, Unilever. So we can also call him a Unilever veteran. He has over 2 decades of experience in brand management, consumer insight, media strategy, brand activations, market developments, and integrated brand communications. Currently, he runs his own consulting firm, Connecting Dots, and is a global partner of Antidoc International, recognized as a world's leader in the use of storytelling in business. Friends like myself like to call him a memory collector and a storyteller. He seeks experiences, and every journey is a story for him. Like many others, he also takes selfies, but his selfies are different because each picture tells a story that is deeply ingrained in Bharat's memory. Each picture is an emotional experience for him, and I'm sure he will share some of those memories with us during today's session. Amidst all this, Bharat has served as a president of the International Advertising Association IAA Malaysia chapter, vice president of the Malaysian Advertising Association, and board member of Audit Bureau of Circulation Malaysia. Bharat is currently on the executive committee of Asian Federation of Advertising Association AFA and global board of International Advertising Association IA. The Asian Federation of Advertising Association AFA at the 30th at Asia Congress, Bali, gave him a special award for teaching and spreading the good influence of advertising and marketing across the region and for impacting hundreds of talents in 10 countries through the fast track program that he has been delivering since 2013. In fact, many of my colleagues from Outreach have had an opportunity to be part of the annual Fast Track program in Malaysia almost every year, and they all consider him their mentor for the career growth. Lately, Bharat has been traveling to Nepal very often as he fell in love with Nepal and Nepali people as he feels there are many opportunities to explore comprehensive marketing practices in the country and wants to mentor a Nepali brand to become a globally recognized icon. Today, we'll talk to him regarding his journey as a marketeer and his experiences in Nepal from a marketeer's eye. Bharat, welcome to Brand Sutra Talk Series.
Thank you, Ojaya, and namaste.
Bharat, let me start with the first question. You've been a marketer for almost your life. You know, tell us why you got stuck to marketing profession throughout your career over 2 decades and what excited you to remain marketers forever.
That's a good start, Ujaya. So let me start by telling you how I chose marketing as a career. So when I was a student in Pune, I had the opportunity to hear Mr. Shunush Sen speak at conference, and Shunu Sen at that time was the head of marketing at Hindustan Lever. It was called Hindustan Lever at that time. And I remember him sharing two case studies. And the first one was that of Surf Excel. And you'll remember in 1984, Surf, which was a dominant brand in India, was under heavy attack by Nirma. And they lost a significant part of their share. And that was because of price. And I think at that time, Nirma was about rupees 4 per kilo. And Surf, I think, was at about rupees 15 per kilo. Okay. And what amazed me was how Unilever responded. So rather than responding on price, they chose to respond on their strength, which was price and quality. And that's why they actually came out with a wonderful campaign of Lalita Ji. And Lalita Ji was portrayed as a lady who will bargain for everything but accept Surf.
Right.
And there was a very iconic statement she made saying that Surf ki kharidari mein hi samajhdari hai. So buying Surf is a sensible choice. And there was a very bold decision for a company to stick to its strength and not play on price. And of course, it became an iconic campaign of that time.
Right.
And another one I remember very clearly was that of Lyric. And I think that carried out a survey and saying that the life of a housewife was very boring. Okay. And she had very little time for herself. Right. And the only time she had was when she will have a bath. And I think that iconic ad of Karen Lunal under waterfall symbolized her shower, and her coming out totally refreshed was also a symbol of an escapade. And that's when I learned how Unilever built brands, which was far beyond what I was learning in my college.
Right.
And then I went on to work for Unilever, and Unilever has brand building at its DNA. And when I say that, it not only does marketing for selling, but it genuinely does marketing to improve people's life. And I worked on lots of brands, and I showed when marketing is done well, how life of consumers get improved. And that's when I realized that marketing to me is like a religion, because the essence of a religion, Ujaya, is to make people look good, feel good, and get more out of life. And I believe marketing done well does exactly that. It helps people look good, feel good, and get more out of life. And why I stuck to marketing all these years? Because Shunu once told me that in order for you to be a successful marketer, you need to love people. And as a human being, you know me, I love people, and I look at the world feelingly. And I think those two qualities were good enough for me to continue being in marketing.
Yes, beautifully said, Bharat. Like rightly said, to be in marketing, you need to love people. And I know that you do that all the time because we travel across the world, in different occasions together. And I've seen, like how, you are so curious about all the consumers, all the people around, like when we travel together. Yes. And like I said, at the beginning of my, introduction, you've been a Unilever veteran and you worked in that company for many years, I'm sure you might have one or two such, marketing stories of your journey as a marketer, which you feel very proud or felt that you've done a large contribution in the brand's history. Can you, share some examples with us today?
Yeah, I got many examples, but there are two campaigns that I'm particularly proud of. And I don't take full credit for it because we worked as a team. But the first one is a local campaign from Kuala Lumpur, from Malaysia. And another one is a global campaign. So let me start with the first one. So the first one is that of Sunsilk. And every year, we used to commission a study on beauty. And based on the insights, it will influence the advertising of all our beauty brands. And I remember we were doing a focus group. Mm-hmm. And we were asking these women who were in the focus group, could you tell us which part of your body makes you look beautiful?
Right.
And it happened that all of them more or less said hair is a symbol of their beauty. But you know what, Ujay? Coincidentally, they all are wearing tudong. Tudong is a scarf on their head.
Right.
And that was a coincidence. And then being a Malaysian where almost 60% of the population are Muslims, half of them are women,
Right.
and most of them cover their hair. And I said, look, wow, how come we did not see that opportunity? And then we further went on to ask them, could you share with us a moment that makes you feel beautiful? And all of them said that they feel beautiful when they have that private moment in their homes, when the children tussle their hair and says, Mama.
Right.
And of course, some of them feel most beautiful when their spouse do it.
Right.
And I think for the first time in the world, we came out with a shampoo which was targeted at women with covered hair. It had a very special ingredient to prevent itchiness and malodor, because when you cover your hair, you tend to sweat and you have that problem. But we actually came out with an ad which had very little hair shot because we could empathize with them. There was a little bit of hint to just say that it's a shampoo. And it went on to become the #1 shampoo in Malaysia. And it was the first time ever a shampoo was launched targeting women with covered hair. If you like, we can show them the ad.
Yang, abang balik hari ni.
Ya ke?
Rindulah.
Menerusi Naturetech, Pati 5 Purut disari oleh Sunsilk. Akar kulit kepala dan rambut kekal sihat walaupun anda bertudung.
Cantiknya isteri abang.
Sunsilk 5 Purut memahami keperluan rambut bertudung.
Would you also like to share another example?
Yep. So another one is dirt is good. Dag achhe hai. So if you look at the story of detergent, it has always been detergent is an enemy of dirt. And it's all about my molecule is better than your molecule.
Yeah.
And that's where we had a better story. And the story is that when you ask mothers, what is their biggest worry? A mother would always say that the biggest worry for a mother is the growth of a child, but never a detergent or never a stain.
Right.
And that's why we had a thought saying that why don't we befriend stain rather than call stain an enemy? Why don't we call it stain as a badge of learning?
Right.
And also find out that childhood space was shrinking and children were not given enough time to play. And that's why we championed dirt is good.
Right.
And that went on to become history, one of the most successful campaign ever. The brand actually moved from millions dollars turnover to billions over a period of 10 years.
Wow.
What gives me much joy is that not so much the success of the brand, but the success of the brand came when children were allowed to have more playtime.
Nice.
And I think that's one of my very proud campaigns. And one of my favorite ads is the Puddle ad from India. And that was around the time when I joined the global team in 2005. So we can actually show that Surf Excel Puddle ad from India. And it's still memorable today.
Number 1 is very big. Number 2 is big. देख क्या रे तूने मारा इसको तुझे अब भी देखता हूँ मारता है अभी ये ले ये भी सॉरी बोल सॉरी बोल रहे
दाग लगने से अगर कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं ना। सर्फ एक्सेल दाग अच्छे हैं
वापस नहीं करना।
Fantastic, Bharat. Like, thank you for sharing some of these works, with the audience. And both these brands are very iconic brands, and they are quite popular in Nepal as well. Now, I know that you are known to champion the goodness of marketing and advertising, and you were recognized by the Asian Federation of Advertising Association at AdAsia Bali in 2017. And as your friend, I'm very proud of those achievements. And let me remind you, I was also present in that event while you were being awarded amidst the global advertising fraternity. If you remember correctly, I took a picture of you taking that award that day. I also remember you had a very memorable meeting with Mr. Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UN and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate during the same time. Can you tell us about both these very important events in your life?
Yeah, Ujay, thank you. I think that was a very special moment for me, which I'll never forget.
Yeah.
So let me go back to what I just said earlier. You know, because of my association with Dag Achehe, I actually fell in love with children everywhere. So whenever I travel, I visit schools. And you know, I've done that in Nepal as well.
Yes. Yes.
So in 2014, I'd gone to Ghana on some work. And I extended my stay and I stayed on for the weekend. And I knew that Mr. Annan, who is one of my heroes, by the way, had studied in Ghana. So I Googled and I found out that Mr. Kofi Annan actually went to a boarding school at a place called Fanti Sipim on the Cape Coast, which is about 2.5 hours drive from Accra.
Okay.
And on a Saturday morning, I took a car with a driver and I drove down to Fanti Sipim. So it was a Saturday morning, and you know what I did? I just went in and I observed children, boys. Actually, it's a boarding school. It's a boarding school set up by the missionaries in 1870. So it's one of the oldest boarding schools in that part of the world. And I saw boys washing their jerseys, and I saw some boys cleaning their dormitories, and some were cleaning their surroundings. I took lots of photographs, and I took a mental note saying that if early in life you learn how to clean your own mess, you learn the dignity of labor, and sometimes you also need to clean the mess that other people create. That's probably what leadership is all about. Then in 2017, I got recognized by the Asian Federation of Advertising Association. And Maya Watano, who was the chairperson of AdAsia, knew that I'd actually gone to Mr. Annan's school. And she also knew that I was very fond of Mr. Kofi Annan. And he said, look, Bharat, why don't you share your story with Mr. Kofi Annan when you meet him? And some of us from the industry, and you were there as well, got a chance to meet Mr. Kofi Annan. And Maya introduces me to Mr. Kofi Annan and actually show him a collage. I have that. We'll show the collage later, but I showed the collage to Mr. Kofi Annan, and his wife Nan was also standing next to him. And I could see he was visibly moved because he was surprised. Imagine Mr. Annan at that time was about 80 years old.
I know.
And I told him of a memory of him when he was 8 years old. And he looked at it and he said, look, that's my school. What are you doing at my school? And he recognized those photographs and he says, can I keep this? And I said, sir, I brought this for you to keep, but I have another set. And I'd like you to autograph it for my son. So one day when my son grows up, I'll tell him that I looked up to you as a leader. And Ujay, you know, while signing the autograph, he puts a hand on my shoulder and he says, Bharat, we have something else in common. And I was wondering, what is it that I would have in common with such a great man? And after signing that autograph, he told me that his father also worked for Unilever Ghana. And both of us Unilever boys. And I always feel his touch on my shoulder. It was a very special moment. And I really felt connected with him.
Very nice. That's a beautiful story, Bharat. Thank you for sharing this, story with us and my audience. Bharat, we have met many times in different part of the world, and also in Nepal, of course. Unfortunately, never in Malaysia. I know you will.
Yeah, we missed each other in Malaysia. Yes.
Yeah, all the time. So I know you like to capture moments and you always carry your camera mostly with you. I especially cherish the morning session, where we travel together, visiting important culture or religious venue surrounding that area, and we've done it many times, even in Korea, in that Buddhist temple, if you remember, you know. And you are known as a memory collectors and storytellers amongst our friends. Why is that so? Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, like I said, Ujay, I love people and I'm always seeking experiences. When I travel, I don't collect stuff, but I
Yeah.
collect memories. So I tell a lot of people, having traveled to 73 countries, I don't have much stuff to show, but I got stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I prefer to get up early in the morning because it's a good time to get out when streets are quiet and you can observe a lot of things.
Yes.
And you and me have been on morning walks, even in Nepal, forget other parts of the world.
I know.
And we observe a lot of things.
Yeah.
But Kathmandu is very different than all the cities in the world. I think Kathmandu is genuinely a morning city because most cities will only come alive at night. But
Yeah.
Kathmandu comes alive in the morning. So if you are a tourist and you sleep late, I think you'll miss out on a lot of experience. And I'll tell you what happens in the morning that I see. I see people getting up very early in the morning, women in red saris going to temples to pray. And I see Buddhists chanting and walking to Swayam Bayunath or one of the monasteries or places of worship.
Yeah.
And the day actually begins in prayers.
Yeah.
And not only that, you see children causing a traffic jam on the street.
Yes.
They're all walking to school, and you see school buses haphazardly zooming on the streets.
Yeah.
And I tell myself, if a city begins its day in prayers and the traffic jam is caused by children who go to school, I think the future of the country is bright. And the future for Nepal is bright because the day begins in prayer and children have access to schooling, even up in the hills.
Very nicely said, Bharat. And thank you for those kind words for my country and my countrymen. Coming back to your love for Nepal, I know you have been traveling to Nepal very often of late, and many times you have been to my country. What is your impression? Is there any key pointers you would like to share with us today, which can be very insightful for us as a marketers, and we can learn to implement that while do some kind of a marketing activities?
So I'll answer that in two parts. I think the first one would be, I think my impression that registered in my mind.
Yeah.
And then a few thoughts that I have as a marketer.
Sure.
At some point, I used to remember how many times I visit Nepal, but now I've lost count. But I will always remember my first and my last visit. But I remember there were two particular images that come in my mind. Number one was I'd actually gone to every morning. That place is crowded with tourists, and all of them are waiting to see the sun to rise and to watch Mount Everest.
Right.
And all of us are waiting, and then a lady comes and he said, it's going to be another half an hour before the sun's going to rise. Why don't you all turn and look at me? And this lady comes and shows a beautiful bedsheet, which she had probably painted by herself, hand printed. And she knew that the tourists were Japanese. And she actually spoke in Japanese.
Wow.
And as a marketer, I told myself how enterprising she is because she had an audience which was captured because the audience could not do anything else but just focus on her.
Right.
And she also communicated with them in the way that the audience understood. And I think she managed to earn my respect, but she also managed to sell her bedsheet. So there was a fantastic lesson for me in marketing in terms of opportunity seeking. How do you make the most out of a targeted, captured audience, and how do you communicate? So there was one incident that I remember correctly. The second one, you remember, this was during the Brand Fest, and after our Brand Fest, we all were taken to Patan, and Elvin was with us, and there was one girl who was continuously shadowing us, and every now and then Elvin will give her 100 rupees, 200 rupees, thinking that she's looking for some money, but she continued speaking to Elvin in English and all that stuff, and I think she was with us throughout the trip in Patan, and when we are just about to get on a bus, she runs up to Elvin and he says, sir, I actually want to buy encyclopedia and I'm short of money. I need about 1,000 rupees. And Elvin actually gave her 1,000 rupees.
Right.
And later we found out that this is the trick she uses all the time. But then as a marketer, I told myself, how creative that girl was. Only thing, she used the creativity for the wrong reason. And the thought comes to me is, Nepalis are creative, but creativity needs to be put to good use.
Right.
That was my second sort of thought as a marketer. Now, coming back to your question, as a marketer, what are my observations? As a marketer, I feel that Nepal is a dream for marketers. And why do I say that, Ujaya? Because for marketing, you need people. And I think Nepal has got a lot of people. You need people who are passionate. Nepalis are very passionate. You need people who are celebrating all the time. And I think Nepal is a country of festivities. If not mistaken, Nepal on average has got 50 festivals a year on average.
Right.
And I think while we speak, we are celebrating Dashain. So happy Dashain to all of you.
Thank you.
And people are emotional. Nepalis are emotional. They believe in relationship, respect, trust. I think all these qualities are qualities that Nepal have. And it's very important for marketeers to tap into this with an attitude to serve the people. Because if you put people at the center of everything you do, I think the opportunity is very bright. And I think the Nepalis are still underserved. So as a marketer, I see a lot of opportunity to serve them.
Fantastic, Bharat. And two beautiful stories that you share, like always. As an avid lover of Nepal, and Nepal being one of the tourist-friendly country in the region, what are the opportunities you see to make Nepal stand out as a brand?
It's interesting because the same question was asked to me by Deepak Joshi at a brand fest.
Okay.
I can't remember, was it 2015 or 2016? I was invited by the Himalayan Times to speak at the brand fest.
Right.
And at the end of the brand fest, I was approached by Ujwala Dali and Deepak Dai. He said, would you come and speak to us on Monday?
Okay.
And I said, look, I'm supposed to fly back tonight. He said, no, can you extend your visit and we'll send you to Pokhara over the weekend, and we'd like you to come and speak to us on Monday. And I think Shraddha and Ujwala arranged a trip for me to go to Pokhara. And I used that time in Pokhara to prepare for the answer that Deepak Joshi asked me.
Okay.
And I bumped into a lot of people. So I think first I remember I went up for lunch. Again, I think my memory fails me, but
No worries.
to Rupakot. I remember correctly. I went there and I met a pretty girl pretty Chinese girl, all alone by herself, and I was the only guy. So there were two of us in that restaurant, and I asked her, like, what are you doing here all the way from? I found out that she was actually from Cathay Pacific, Hong Kong. And she said, I've come here to meditate. And I said, why Nepal of all the places to come and meditate? And he said, look, it's very easy to come and meditate in Nepal. And you know why? Then I asked her why. So he said, look, for a Hong Kong people to come to Nepal is very easy. I don't think Hong Kong people need visa, so they can come straight to Nepal. And within arrival, within a few hours, you order in Pokhara, and you can start meditating on the same day. But if you go to another city, by the time you are in a state to meditate, it will take you about 2-3 days. So come to Nepal, it's easy to meditate. Then I was walking on the streets of Pokhara and I met gentleman from one of the Scandinavian countries. Don't remember whether it was Denmark or Sweden.
Mhm.
And I told him, and he was solo traveler. Nepal has a lot of solo traveler. And I said, what brings you to Nepal? He said, I come here to feel humanity.
Okay.
He said, everybody touches you, everybody talks to you, everybody speaks to you. And I come here just to experience humanity.
Mhm.
And I met another person at a bar and he says, look, I'm very fond of mountains. At the same time, I'm very fond of wildlife. So he said, within a radius of, say, 1 hour, you can be in the plains at Chitwan,
Mhm.
or you could be at the foothill of the Everest. So it's
Right.
very easy to even fulfill your passion. So I collected all these memories. And what I suggested to the Nepal Tourism Board was to come up with a campaign called Come to Nepal. It's easy to find whatever you want.
Okay.
So that was one observation I had. On another time, I actually went to Lumpini.
Okay. Great.
And that was a fantastic experience. And then I told myself there was very little that tourists could take away from Lumpini.
Mhm.
And I found out there were a lot of rice fields in Lumpini. At the same time, I believe the Lumpini clay is also quite nice. And I thought,
Right.
wouldn't it be a nice idea to have a brand of rice called Lumpini rice, or probably have Buddhist clay statues? And this is something which tourists could take away, rice from the land of Buddha, or Buddha statues from the land of Buddha. I think that would be a good symbolic thing for tourists to take away, but I think it will also generate some money for the local population.
Yeah.
But these are just some stray ideas I have. But I think Nepal needs to reach out to all kinds of tourists, not just the solo tourists, but also tourists that spend a lot of money as well.
Right.
But there's everything for everybody.
Right. Thank you, Bharat, for these suggestions with regard to promotion of Nepal. We've almost come to the end, Bharat.
Right.
As a parting note, as a marketers with such long experiences and many successful work to your credits, what are the opportunity you see in Nepal purely from a marketing perspectives?
I think that's a good question. When I ask myself, Ujaya, how many global Nepali brands do we have?
Yeah.
And if I were to ask people, could you name me a Nepali brand? And they'll always say Mount Everest. But beyond that, I think that we don't really have a truly global Nepali brand apart from Gurkhas. So both these are not something tangible that you can buy and sell. And of course, we got a lot of popular brands in Nepal, but we don't really have many global brands.
Right.
But I remember reading that there are 5 big Nepali brands which are not owned by Nepalis.
Oh, wow.
Would you like me to mention those 5?
Sure, please let us know, let the audience know about this.
So I think the first brand is Kathmandu.
Okay.
So Kathmandu, as you know, are basically a range of products and services for climbing, for skiing, for mountaineering, and there are about 130 Kathmandu outlets in New Zealand, Australia, and UK.
Wow.
That's number one, brand Kathmandu.
And
I think the second one is a company called Annapurna Films. It's based in Los Angeles, and this company has got about 15 nominees for Academy Awards.
Wow.
And the founder of this company, Melissa, actually completed the Annapurna circuit in 2006, and she actually named it and she named the company after that. So a very successful film production company. The third one is a range of shoes, which is under a company called La Sportiva. It's a very popular Italian brand. And
Right.
there's a range called Nepal Novo. And these are very durable skiing, mountaineering, and climbing shoes. So that's the third one.
Okay.
The fourth one is Everest Spices, Everest Masala.
Right.
And I think it's manufactured in Bombay. And
Right.
if I'm not mistaken, it's probably one of the largest spices brand in India.
Right.
And the last one will surprise you a bit.
Okay.
It's hand-rolled cigars called Gurkha.
Oh,
And it's the most expensive cigar in the world because it is laced with a vintage cognac.
right.
And how much is one box of Gurkha cigars? Take a guess.
I mean, like $100.
25,000 US dollar per box.
Wow.
The point I want to make, Nepal has got a lot of goodwill. It commands quality. It commands premium.
Right.
And I think it's time for Nepal to build its own global brand. And I see a lot of opportunity for that.
Fantastic, Bharat. Most probably with your help, and mentorship, most probably this can be something that is possible for some Nepalese brand. Let's hope for the same. With this, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you, Bharat, for this lovely conversation today and sharing your knowledge and experiences with my audiences. Like always, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure my audience have also loved it equally. Thank you, and see you in Nepal soon.
Thank you, Ujaya. And I hope we'll see each other face to face soon, COVID willing. Take
Yeah.
care. Be safe. Dhanyawad.